Yeah. Who wants to hear a story? I know I do. Hey you, sitting there with nothing to do, why don't you come over here and maybe try something new? Yes you, don't waste your time just planting your seeds. Let's partake in FlameAmigo619 reads. You got a pick, he'll read ya, hilarity he'll feed ya, or maybe deep emotions, whatever the feeling doesn't matter. Either solo or with friends, we're going on a trip to faraway places, or maybe not, just take a tip from me. He does have some standards, they're not far-fetched, it's a stretch, so keep that in mind, don't be a bitch. So kick up your feet, find something comfy to sit in, and enjoy the show. Now let us begin.
Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, the holiday with dreidels that I completely forgot. Happy Decemberween, whatever the fuck it is you celebrate. Welcome to a holiday episode of FlameAmigo619 Reads. Sis19. Yeah, that's where we're going. Sis19. Yes, welcome. If you can't guess, we're all in holiday get-up, thanks to the Jostinator.
I dressed myself up as Santa Claus!
My sweater itches!
I'm a real angel.
Sure you are, okay.
I'm an elf.
For our very first Christmas episode, we are reading Pony for Christmas, The Ballad of Pinkie Pie by Bronk. Oh, that's Brooke. I am an idiot. I thought it was Brock.
Brockwood.
Real nice.
Now, we got people here. We have Bane.
Hello.
Will.
You already know what I do, and I do's what I does.
Jewel.
I'm playing Pinkie Pie.
Tanya.
Hi.
Sage.
Why is it windy outside? Is God just trying to punish us?
Well, the rapture is coming up pretty soon, so...
Meh.
Or technically, actually, when is this being released?
Christmas Day.
Oh, then we
Then-
won't be
then-
here to...
Then-
Happy birthday, me!
Well,
Edit that out.
in that case, the rapture hasn't happened, so ha
Jimmy.
Merry Xmas.
And Joey.
Call me Santa Joey!
Joey Claus.
Joey Klaus. This story is told entirely in rhyme. I give props to the person who wrote this and got it all correct in rhyme.
Normally, I would object to a reading of this and actually just make like a straight up like 6-minute rap of this, but you know what? I'm not that big of a douchebag. This is Zach's thing. So
First we have Zach as a snake, and now Will has Tourette. And now we're all drunk.
Fear the day that William Grubb develops Tourette's.
Ronald McGoddamn Donald!
Pony for Christmas, the Ballad of Pinkie Pie, let's go. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and I was away, with no means of getting back home to GA. The fuck is GA?
Georgia.
Georgia?
Okay, whatever works. My poor ma and pop, with the money they stored, put me through college with all they could afford. I called them on the phone, and regretfully I said,
I'm going to have to stay up at college instead.
I choked back my tears as my parents cried and sobbed. I could not shake the feeling that I had been robbed. Powering through it, I asked for my brother, who I truly am going to miss like no other. He got on the line and in a voice quite bright, said that our whole family was over for the night. Grief turned to anger as he described all the fun, tossing around the baseball in the southern sun. Mother was baking her famous apple tarts, planning to tell jokes before the football game starts. I breathed a sigh, staying calm and composed, and asked if there was any present he had proposed. Without hesitation, he said something tragic.
I want My Little Pony. Friendship is magic.
Judas!
Backstabbing Judas.
With that, I threw the phone on the ground, but with care dare not make another sound, so not to alert any who may be around, for I could find no explanation. What the fuck? That doesn't rhyme!
Young teenage boys should be into sport. I know I was, of every sort. So where did my brother end up short? In the testosterone department.
Testosterone! I the stupid and even know I knows how to spell.
But these ponies, they were everywhere, as my roommate was too willing to share. It seems he had been caught in the snare of this ponification takeover.
How the fuck? Okay, that's twice now.
No,
Three times.
Three times.
That is three
in the
times of
testosterone
incorrect verse, good sir.
department.
The internet was swarming with this trash, boys would do better out smoking hash. All these bronies should die in a car crash and save us from this filth.
Judas! No, I'm kidding.
That's fine.
I slumped on my couch and cooled down for a bit. I stared at the TV, which made the room dimly lit. I loved my brother, and that was the case, even though I think he's a total disgrace. Nice. But I was the only one he would divulge, and to my disgust, I still would indulge. In the fanfiction and videos, he held at high regard, knowing full well that he and I would be scarred? Yeah, scarred. I didn't know whether they meant scared or scarred or whatever the fuck that means, I don't know. Though deep down inside, in the depths of my heart, I wondered if friendship could ever jumpstart this life filled with stress, with pain, and with sorrow, and make me joyous for a solitary tomorrow. But alas, my friends have gone to their houses to share Christmas with siblings, parents, and spouses. I was thankful for being able to stay at my dorm, to be in the place that was at least cozy and warm. Peering out into the winter sky, I spotted the shooting star fly by, and in desperation I had to cry,
I want a friend this Christmas.
You had to think about it for a few seconds.
Yeah.
He's like, what do I want? I want a friend this Christmas.
Preferably a blow-upable one.
Joey! Keep it in your pants, boy.
I shut my eyes and counted to 3, spun around and hoped desperately, but when I opened my eyes, I found no one and cursed Father Christmas for what he had done. I sat back down in defeated disgust, but I knew magic I could not trust, be it Santa or witchcraft or even ponies. They all represented deceitful phonies. You know, and actually I'm going to let that one slide. They build up your dreams, and in one fell swoop, your parents decided to put you in the loop and confess that it had all been a sham. For the butt of their stories, I had been the lamb. As science has taught us, magic isn't real. It isn't physically possible for Santa to steal into your home. This is the truth. I was a patsy of my fanciful youth. The fuck is patsy? And as a Christmas carol came to a close, I found myself wanting to stay there and doze, for I had a heater placed at my feet, my blanket was warm, and I had cookies to eat. The dim light from the TV began to fade, my eyelids created a welcoming shade, and as sleep took me, I imagined my brother's state.
I want ponies for Christmas now. That would be great.
The light from the window forced me awake. Sleeping upright really makes your back ache, and as I stood up to stretch my back and arm, I jumped onto the couch and screamed in alarm. A creature was lying on top of a bag, and tied to its arm was a tiny tag from Santa to Santa's favorite brony, and attached to it was a little pink pony.
And she's not inflatable.
The beast snored softly as I mulled over in my head.
Am I dreaming this? Am I high or am I just dead?
I pinched my cheek and
You're high.
Probably high.
Go home, Jimmy, you're high.
Hey man, it's good weed.
Man, pass that shit over.
God damn it, why can't I ever get some weed? Oh my god, I finally said it without laughing!
I pinched my cheek and felt every nerve. This reality was the truth I am to observe. Looking at my cell, I saw I was 9 and peered back at the tiny equine. I went to the bathroom and washed my face, dried it off, and I stared into space.
This could not possibly happen. There is just no way. Have all my teachers been leading me astray? Stay cool, collected, keep my sanity at bay as I find what to do with this horse.
Your rhyming scheme is broken!
You're broken! I charged into the room and with raw determination, I demanded the pony give me an explanation. Then I realized she probably cannot speak, because even I would think that she is a freak. Well, that's nice. I braced myself as I saw her rise, yawn a little and open her eyes. She looked around with slight confusion as I tried to make sense of this delusion. Turning her head, she looked high and low and found that she had nowhere to go, so instead she turned and asked of me only one question.
Where are we?
She had a small stature. She came up to my waist, hands down the strangest thing I've ever faced. Now that I knew that she could talk, nothing more could give me shock. Oh, just wait. I rubbed my eyes at this puzzling sight. I quickly told her that it was all right, for she began to bounce all over the place and into my room, so I gave chase. I tried to scoop her up with one arm so that she could not cause any more harm. To my surprise, she weighed a ton and wailed,
Hey, have some fun!
I shushed her quietly and put her down. She turned to me with a tiny cute frown and said,
In Ponyville I play all day. Where's your problem anyway?
I explained to her that she could not play, and knocking over my things was not okay.
This is my home, and I know it is quite cramped, but please be a dear and let go of my lamp.
That's not a lamp.
I was gonna say it.
60 volts in my ass.
I don't even know. She dropped it and with a sincere look said she was sorry for being a crook, and although My Little Pony made me cringe, her eyes still made my strong heart twinge. I wasn't stupid for I knew who she was, and my roommate, he most certainly does. There was one truth, and this was no lie.
You're a gift from my friend. Your name's Pinkie Pie.
She happily agreed, then with a quizzical stare, asked how I knew the name of this mare. I said,
My roommate, he is a big fan and loves you like no other man can. If he were here, he'd probably croak from a cuteness-induced overload stroke.
I chuckled a little, but her expression turned grim.
For his protection, I better not meet him.
With that, I busted out in hearty mirth, wondering why a pony not from Earth would care about anyone but themselves, then quickly dragged her off my shelves. I placed her firmly on my couch as she accused me of being a grouch. I said,
You certainly are one curious creature. So how's about you sit there and I'll be your teacher? You can ask me anything about this place while only sitting in that one place, and I will try to do my best to construe any possible question from you.
This turned out to be a grave mistake, for her curiosity had no break, and after an hour I told her to cease before the number of her questions had increased. I laid on the rug as she trotted towards me and asked,
Where's food? I'm really hungry.
I grabbed my stomach, eagerly complied, and walked into the kitchen with her by my side.
Sorry, but I don't have any apples or hay. Tell you the truth, I was going to eat out today.
I need to get my mom out of the gutter.
Why?
I want some cotton candy. How about you?
She said.
She said,
Well then, what are you waiting for?
and started pushing me towards the nearest door. I skidded to a halt and told her.
That's the closet. And any plans on leaving? You're going to have to pause it.
She asked me why, and I said,
Isn't it clear? You're a pink talking pony in a world of humans, my dear.
Why should that stop us?
she said with a grin.
This is the weirdest argument I've ever been in.
I thought for a moment while trying to stall and said,
Humans are afraid of the unnatural. Be it aliens or magic or even an unusual fad, people will discourage the practice of what they think is bad.
but as I looked at Pinkie, I remembered my views and realized the hypocrisy of what I will choose.
My options are simple. Stay here with her or go outside in the cold weather. No matter what happens, I'll have to accept that I'll be going against the philosophy I've kept. That My Little Pony was for little girls only, but today, I certainly am really lonely. I've never been one to care about what others think, so I would be fine seen with a pony that's pink.
'Cause real men wear pink.
Meanwhile, Pinkie Pie patiently waited. With a knowing smile, she knew what I debated, and finally I let out an exasperated sigh. Braving the world with her is what I'll have to try. She beamed with delight as I put on my cap, threw on my coat, and tied my bootstraps. We were about to head out when I stopped at the door. I turned around and tossed my scarf on the floor.
So what's this for? How does this work?
I rolled my eyes as she gave a small smirk. I picked up the scarf and wrapped her neck.
So you don't become a shivering wreck.
I talked of how where weather was capricious, how the cold of the winter made humans contagious. She said that in Ponyville there is sickness too, like cutie pox, scaldra, and equine flu. As we neared the town on our short little walk, I had Pinkie Pie promise me she wouldn't talk.
That's impossible. Talking is what I do. I guess I can just keep the conversation to you.
Nevertheless, when we arrived at town, I could do nothing but keep my head down as people pointed, whispered, and muttered.
What a strange dog.
Someone had uttered in a weird accent. Pinkie Pie smiled and bounced all around as I glared at the man who had made that sound.
Pinkie, let's hurry up and get to Mickey D's before someone else looks and sees.
We entered the restaurant and to my surprise, the place was empty, except for a couple of guys. I went over to the counter and ordered some food. They asked me about Pinkie, but I wasn't in the mood. Suddenly, Pinkie Pie shouted,
I want a shake.
The sound of her voice made my heart quake. I turned to Pinkie and gave her a look. It seemed my gaze was all that it took. Luckily, the cashier was preoccupied.
I would like a shake as well.
I easily lied. After a few minutes, they gave me my order, and the mayor and I sat at the outermost border. Pinkie Pie pouted in the booth across. I felt bad, so I gave the shake a toss. She caught it nimbly with her nose and used a straw just like a hose. She sucked it dry in 10 seconds flat and said,
Done. You gonna finish that?
Before I could speak, she devoured my meal, and 10 seconds later I had nothing to steal. I groaned as she finished the last of my fries, and I threw a couple napkins which covered her eyes.
Man, you're one messy eater. Clean up your face. You got my breakfast all over the place.
She wiped her face off and gave me a smile, but at that one point it was nothing but vile. I got out of the booth in unmitigated disgust.
I'm leaving this place. Follow me if you must.
I hurried out the door. I didn't care.
I'd rather be anywhere than near that mare. Her detestable nature is more than I can bear. I gotta get away from that pony.
But suddenly I found my feet would not budge. Something in my heart was giving me a nudge. Back to where I had left Pinkie Pie, I closed my eyes and asked myself,
If this were anyone else, there'd be nothing wrong. I would run back to my dorm. That's where I belong. So why does my fickle heart seem too long to be near that pony?
I glanced behind me, and to my surprise, my gaze locked on to Pinkie's sad eyes. Her hair had fallen, her expression despairing, as a pedestrian bumped into her without caring. I found myself running back to her side and wiping away tears that she had cried. She smiled weakly, and to me she said,
If you had abandoned me, I'd probably be dead. In this world of unacceptance, I wouldn't stand a chance. I wouldn't be able to sing, to play, or to dance.
I stood up in front of her and placed a hand on my chest. I pledged,
For the safety of Pinkie Pie, I will take no rest.
She started to giggle and I to chuckle as her hoof hit upon my knuckle. Right then and there, a pact had been made. We were to be friends forever and always. The end. Part 1. I'll have to say this Christmas was grand. As we huddled by the concession stand, I ordered 2 cups of hot chocolate to go while Pinkie Pie stood in line for the show. I got her a straw and hurried to the spot and handed the drink to her piping hot. She accepted it with an adorable grin and sucked at the chocolate elixir within. Chocolate elixir? I've never heard of that. I just remembered though, Will loves chocolate milk.
Really?
Yes.
Fuck you.
Suddenly, before I could blink, she spat out all the sizzling drink, jumped up and down, her face was scrunched up, and in a tizzy accidentally tipped over the cup. The people around us quickly shuffled aside as I pulled out my kerchief and quickly applied it to my jeans, and to her I told,
That drink, most certainly, is not cold.
I really didn't care and apologized to the crowd, whose whispering started to become quite loud. I understood that Pinkie was kind of a klutz. But she was a friend I always could trust. I bought her some ice and a big candy stack as she found us 2 seats, second row from the back, and while we sat and watched the nativity story, I told her how Christmas was to give God the glory. Oh shit, here we go.
Nowadays, though, it's the season of giving, when friends and family leave where they're living and come to visit, bringing laughter and cheer,
I shrugged and added,
but only once a year.
She turned to me and said,
That is a shame. But luckily for you humans, Pinkie Pie came. I'm the queen of Fiesta, the princess of the party.
I smirked and said,
Oh, don't get me started.
I decided that after we finished the play, I'd show her around the town where I stay. The first thing I did was get her a Santa hat and sweater so she could handle our chilly winter better. We went to this toy store to check out their stock, and as we walked in, Pinkie inhaled in shock.
So many toys. Could this be true?
And immediately bolted right out of my view. The place was decked with holiday gear, toy cars, toy trains, and toy reindeer. As Pinkie Pie messed with every toy in the shop, I stifled a snicker when the manager yelled,
Stop!
It didn't take long before they gave us the boot, so I led Pinkie down to the subway commute. We traveled the city. I showed her it all, the fudgeries, the carolers, and even the mall. She got the cutest picture with old Saint Nick, who was surprisingly calm when the shutter went click, and even though the parents would point and would stare, their children scampered up to her without care. Somehow the children knew she was kind, but to that fact their parents were blind. I realized that when a person grows older, there is no beauty in the eye of the beholder. All they can see is what could be bad, and trust is always the hardest to be had, especially when it comes to their kid, every questionable thing they will forbid. Finally, their parents began to coincide and took pictures with Pinkie by their child's side. I think Santa was jealous when from him they fled and lined up to hang out with Pinkie instead. Morning turned to evening, and day turned to night. The streets began to glow with red and green light. We found ourselves in front of a giant tree with happy carolers singing gleefully. I joined in at the chorus of the festive song, as did the rest of the cheerful, glad throng. After a while, Pinkie picked up on the tune and ad-libbed lyrics just like in the cartoon.
Christmas time is the best.
Better than all the rest.
What makes it greater is to spend.
And Christmas Day with your best friend.
The carolers stopped, as did the band. I smiled and started to clap my hands. Suddenly the whole crowd had joined in, and Pinkie Pie bounced into my arms with a grin. There was something that I could not ignore. Pinkie Pie seemed to weigh less than before. Needless to say, I was definitely elated as the people's applause finally deflated. I gave her a noogie as we walked away and asked her if she had had a fun day. I put her back down and she nodded, stating,
We gotta end the day with some good old ice skating.
the manager was reluctant to say the least, but I finally got skates for my little beast. She giggled in glee as I tied them on tight so her hooves wouldn't chafe and she'd be alright. Since it wasn't cold enough to freeze over a pond, the ice rink is usually where couples would bond, and as I peered out into the ice rink, I spotted some people that made my heart sink. A group of townies I'd seen in the past were in the center of the rink having a blast, and though I'd never been directly involved, they made trouble with all and were always absolved. Absolved? What the fuck is absolved?
Absolved. Set or declare free from blame, guilt, or responsibility.
These high school dropouts were total bums, barely supported at the hands of their mums, but somehow acted like they were superior like everyone else was clearly inferior. A little pink pony would definitely be marked, but before I could warn her, to the rink she embarked. She stepped onto the ice and with a motion so quick, glided down the rink doing tricks so hard to stick. On the ice, Pinkie was a sight to see. It was like that's where she was born to be. Several couples stopped and gazed at her skill. Her grace on the ice was a magical thrill. And while I was entranced by her double axel spin, I almost forgot the dangerous people within. When I came back to reality, it was too late, for at that moment there was a turn in our fate. Pinkie skated backwards, and to me she waved and crashed into the boys as they misbehaved. The pony landed on her stomach as the other guys fell. Though they weren't even hurt, one started to yell. I didn't have skates on, but I just couldn't stay. I wasn't that good at skating anyway. I looked for an opening in the couples to proceed, and in my shoes I slipped my way to the steed.
What kind of freaky dog is this?
One of them oddly grunted, as I slid it to help Pinkie, and them I confronted.
Sorry, fella, she just wasn't paying attention. She didn't mean to cause all thoughts of apprehension.
After I had spoken, they pushed me aside,
That's not what I said.
and the pony they eyed. Innocently, Pinkie smiled and said,
Hi there, I'm Pinkie Pie. I'm not a dog, I'm the mayor.
Whoa, did this thing just talk?
one of them said, while the other two knelt and started poking her head. She shook them away and skated towards me, stopped to my side as I stood courageously. She wrapped her forelegs around my thighs as the boys looked at me with jealous eyes, and though I was built and certainly older, fighting off three guys would be tough to shoulder. I prayed that this wouldn't turn into a fight as the boys glided over to me in spite. Pinkie felt the bad aura and she held on tight as the verbal assault commenced.
That was a neat trick how you spoke for your team.
The leader had said when the others circling around us, and the leader continued to say,
But dying a prank now, that's kinda gay.
oh dear, here we go. His cronies snickered and finally stopped their advance as Pinkie Pie and I exchanged an uneasy glance. I raised my hand and said,
Sorry to burst your bubble, but Pinkie and I weren't looking for any trouble.
I picked up the pony and attempted to leave, and the leader sneered and rolled up his sleeve, and when I had turned I ran into his friends and realized the simple means to these ends.
These guys had decided to end this day right. They predetermined having an old-fashioned fistfight. I just happened to be in the wrong place this night. Their conflict was simply inevitable. Maybe in the midst of this Christmas night bustle, someone out there will help me.
Santa Christ, real love
The greatest Santa Christ!
He is Santa and Jesus, goddamn, he's Santa Christ.
Exactly. In a circle that began to push me around, so much so that I slipped on the ground. I dropped Pinkie and landed on top of my bottom as the boys laughed, high-fived, and yelled.
Got him!
The leader offered his hand and said,
Sorry.
When I grabbed it, he punched me right in the jaw. I fell back down and landed hard on the ice. Pinkie growled.
This is the opposite of nice.
The leader stood over me and to me exclaimed, I don't know if this is Will or Joey.
The leader is, I think, Joey.
I feel so sorry for this sentence.
Yeah. Okay, fine. You pretty pink packets are all the same. Would you messed up feelings in gay pride parades? Next thing you know, my brother will have braids.
He doesn't even know what the fuck it is, but I liked how he said paggots. I wasn't gay and never have been, but being gay was scarcely a sin.
At least I don't hang out with a bunch of dudes.
With a scowl, he said,
Oh, now you're screwed.
I don't know why you're hurting my friend, but all this hatred has got to end. You may not accept what I represent, but the happiness and love is shared and spent. With those who you love, that is the fact, and he and I made a true friendship pact.
Pinkie heard enough, and she cried angry tears, and what follows was the sum of all of my fears. Her yelling had astonished everyone in earshot as she charged at the leader, who seemed stuck in one spot. Wiggling on the ground, I shouted,
Pinkie, no!
but Pinkie had decided to finish this with one blow. She surged at him and slammed him right in his gut, and I marveled at the force of her strong headbutt. But as she dropped back down onto her skates, the leader got aided by one of his mates. His buddy kicked Pinkie Pie, body and all. She flew across the ice and crashed into a wall. My heart skipped a beat as I saw her fall, quivering on the ice. The head honcho clutched his stomach and growled,
Grab that pink run. She's gonna be my mount. I need to get a present for my ma anyway. With this cute cough, I won't even have to pay.
They were about to pick up the badly maimed mare when I came up behind them and whispered,
Don't you dare.
I landed a punch on one of their soft mugs, but then I got grabbed by one of the thugs. The leader had come over, still wincing in pain, and the rage I exhibited they could not restrain. I used the assailant behind me just like a brace, leaned back and landed a kick to the face. The leader flew back, now doubly hurt, as the second henchman took off his shirt. To my surprise, the other let go of me, and I found a leg somewhere it shouldn't be. My legs buckled under me as I let out a yelp, and I wondered why no one was coming to help. I spotted the people starting to flee as the three boys kicked me mercilessly. One to the ribs, one to the back. Another called dibs and made my neck crack. One to the face, one to the arm. There was no space to scream out in alarm. I couldn't talk, I couldn't speak, I could only gawk. My future looked bleak. Finally, an employee broke up the fight and checked me to see if I was all right. The three slid away without making a fit, but the leader came back, and on me he spit. I grimaced as I struggled to get back on my feet, while the employee stammered,
Maybe you should take a seat.
I cared for one thing and I couldn't lie.
I have to go check on my Pinkie Pie.
Luckily, I saved her from any more damage, and the pain from the pummeling I think I could manage. Though mentally and emotionally I was still seething, I was happy to find that Pinkie Pie was still breathing. Firstly, I covered the limp mare with my jacket, as the spectators began to make quite a racket. And though it hurt when I put her on my back, determination and toughness picked up the slack. As I limped my way out, the manager looked peeved and said,
Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
I shouldered my friend and stepped out in the chill and started my trek to my dorm on a hill. My head was still pounding and I thought a rib cracked, as I referenced the past when I was fiercely attacked. But courage and valor I had to show, as the weather around me began to snow. Well, this took a pretty dark turn. While in the kitchen, I found time to reflect on why for this pony I had great respect. Yeah, she was goofy, yeah, she was weird, but I'll never regret that she appeared.
I asked for a friend, but I got something more. I never could have guessed what she had in store. And though taking care of her was kind of a chore, today was the best day ever.
When I entered my room, Pinkie started to move. I rushed to her side to see if she improved. She tried to sit up, but winced when she did, so behind her back a pillow I slid. She smiled weakly at me as I pulled up a chair, and I handed her the milk I had prepared. She thanked me kindly and drank it in, and immediately asked,
So, did we win?
I chuckled a little and shook my head no.
I landed some good hits on them, though.
Any of them as good as my hit?
That was the best, I'll have to admit.
She grinned at me, and I matched her smile. I said,
You really know how to go out in style.
She winked at me as she downed her last sip and said,
Baby, the magic is all in the hits.
I laughed out loud and her I embraced, making sure that I maintained enough breathing space. To my surprise, she clutched me harder, and at that moment I felt pure ardor. After a few minutes, Pinkie let go, and remarkably she began to glow.
What's going on, Pinkie? Are you alright?
Sorry, but I'm going to be leaving tonight.
Wait, what?
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 I stared at her bewildered, then started to cry. I couldn't believe it, and I asked her why. She smiled at me knowingly and shed a tear. She then confessed,
I do this every year. Santa transports me to his northern abode,
Yes.
and I sit next to him as he hits the road. At Christmas Eve night, he leaves me somewhere where he hears a lonely heart cry out a prayer. I'm an equestrian pony, born and raised. Ponyville's fields are where I graze. I have to go back to my friends and kin, and I couldn't live here, but I never fit in.
I protested.
Pinkie Pie, don't leave me here. In this world filled with grief, with anger and fear, where nothing is certain and nothing is clear, please, take me with you.
She shook her head and said,
I can't, for the magic that I'm unable to grant.
She smiled at me with loving eyes, and the grief I felt I could not disguise. The glowing had stopped and she started to fade as I gripped her body and slowly swayed. I said,
Sorry for getting you hurt.
Ponies heal fast. Don't sweat it, Squirt.
Pinkie continued.
By the way, I had fun. The most I've had under this world's sun. Even if I leave, I'll never truly go.
I had to ask.
Pinkie, how will I know?
She let go of me and in a voice quite kind said,
I may not always be in your mind, but the important thing is that's what's inside the heart, and the friendship we shared will never tear us apart.
And with that, her body fully disappeared. That night, I admit, I felt pretty weird. I thanked Santa silently for sending me that pony and said,
I guess in the end, I am your favorite brony.
Yay! He said he was that brony.
the end.
Yay!
Well then.
Wow.
I like that.
Other than sort of lifting the ending from My Little Dashie, I like this. I thought that was pretty good.
I want to find a Pinkie and I wish to hug it.
And now, to rip off somebody. So remember, boys and girls, if you really want a pony this Christmas, all you gotta do is wish upon a star. And you better hope you don't get Diamond Tiara. Good nights! She sucked it dry in 10 seconds flat and... Fuck.
Continue!
Okay, I'm just gonna retry that line. Okay, sorry. She sucked it dry in 10
Oh, come on!
You're doing it straight,
You
boys.
said it fine the first time.
Are we gonna have another blooper reel like this again?
No.
Sorry,
No.
we don't in here.
No, I'm good. She sucked it dry.
I knew it. This is another blooper reel. I knew it. I called it. Somebody else me a root beer.
She sucked it dry.
Oh my god, come on!
Fuck it. I'm saying it.
No. Give me one more try. One more try.
No, you ran out of tries. I'm sorry.
No, this is my show, bitch. This is my show. I don't see the name Miss Oliver Blossom / the Wilstonator Reads, motherfucker. When you get your own show and you have all of us in the stories part.
You wanna fight about it, motherfucker?
Oh, it's on.
The first thing I did was get her a Santa hat and sweater so she can handle our chilly weather.
Wetter?
A chili weather.
Weather. Sorry, I have
Weather.
Homestyle 10 syndrome. Okay.
Bitch, you really had to get that impression down. I mean,
I think you can find the winter
you
in
need
bed.
some more practice.